how do you deal with the tension of more opportunity than the past, and generations of the Black community in the past have gotten you to where you are, but yet still there's disadvantage? What's your sense of how to deal with that tension and put the past more in the past?
I think we each bear the responsibility just to make a conscious decision and effort to reach common ground. And in order to do so, you're going to have to listen to the other person's perspective or point of view. You can't just talk to express yourself. You have to be willing to listen and understand. Don't listen to respond, listen to reach a genuine understanding so that you can get to that common ground.
Is part of that common ground an economic acknowledgement of what happened to our forefathers?
In terms of reparations?
Call it whatever word you want to use.
Just in terms of dealing with the economic issues, not necessarily, Andre, do you mean a particular policy, or you just mean generally dealing with the...
I mean all the way around. So part of that reaching common ground and feeling heard is a token of acknowledgement of what happened to our forebears, our ancestors, and maybe not even some people are still alive today. And maybe some of the ways some of those themes are showing up for present people. So in reconciliation and healing work, olive branches are important. And one that has been discussed a lot is an economic olive branch for African American people who are the descendants of the slaves that were brought here. I don't necessarily use the word reparations because I have a different view on what that economic olive branch could look like. But I'm asking Marcus, do you think that economic olive branch is something that is part of that common ground? And what would that look like to you?
I personally don't think it is, because at this point in time, I don't understand, or I don't foresee how you could even determine what that economic olive branch would be. So how would you determine what Maren, you and I are entitled to when we're so far removed from the disadvantage that was initially the problem?
Not so much. So so we're literally not slaves in today. But so 2 years ago, I read a very eye-opening report by a leading consulting company that kind of gave the state of African-American people in this country, and it was astonishing. First of all, I did not know we are a people in this nation of renters, that less than 30% of Black people own homes. So we even can qualify one. Then on top of that, banks charge us, they charge us how can I put this? They're more apt to charge us fees than they are other populations. With respect to, why do you think that there's been the proliferation of no minimum checking accounts, for example? Because a lot of these larger banks, when you dip below X amount of dollars in that account, and for some people, that's just the nature of their income is very sinusoidal sometimes, right? Goes up and down. And so they will dip and then they're charged these fees. And there's also, with respect to that, people of color, Black and brown, are more likely to live closer to industrial zones that lack clean air. So I don't necessarily mean like, okay, give me $20,000 because I have these ancestors who were enslaved, but there are themes that run current for Black and brown people that put us at a physical and at an economic disadvantage. And I'm most passionate about clean air, if you really want to know, because I live in a place where oil is refined, and they don't refine it in the rich side of town. They refine it on the side of town where you have a lot of working class Black and brown people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, and I even say, like, here in Chicago, like some of the land covenants that go back generations that pretty much secured a lot of the wealthier plots of land to white communities, like still to this day, right? And that's just to Andre's point, like generational wealth. Now you're talking about being able to hand down some of the most valuable land in the city 3, 4, 5 generations.
So Marcus, is your sense, just to better understand your point of view, because Andre said there's not necessarily kind of a check in the mail, But is your sense that you just wouldn't want targeted economic help because we don't really know who has, let's say, been affected in some negative economic way from the past, or are you, so is the issue with the targeting of it, or and the means you don't want to check necessarily, or do you not think that there should be some concerted effort to lessen gaps in advantage, to not have so much disadvantage as you yourself have acknowledged? Do you think there should be some concerted effort to deal with disadvantage that might have been passed down from generations, but maybe can't be targeted, pinpointed? What exactly is your sense of it?
I had never really thought about it from Andre's perspective. When I thought about it, I always thought of it in the context of a dollar.
Reparations. Mm-hmm.
I didn't even think about what Marin said about how it was covenanted and there's land, and
Mm-hmm.
I just never thought about it in that aspect. But for me, it's just more so, when is enough enough? And if you were to divvy it up and say Marin got 20,000 and Andre got 18, and then I get 7, who's to say what's fair? Or why didn't I get as much as them? Would it be just a blanket amount and everyone gets $5,000? Well, is that really enough? Is there any dollar amount that could genuinely resolve the disadvantage?
And I completely agree with
my
you.
question, I actually agree with you, and I actually wonder, when unpeeling, going past all the layers, unpeeling the onion and all of that, is it really about money, or is it really about acknowledgement?
Thank you.
Acknowledgement that the setup of the society we're in to this day, did not miraculously, the white people are rich and the Black people are poor, with a few mixed in the exceptions, right? That leads to a dialogue of, there are a group of people who are just more superior than others. There are some people who are just better than others.
To watch the rest of that episode, go ahead and click the video below me.
To see a different compelling Healing Race episode, you can click the video below me. We look forward to seeing you in the next video.